Begin the meeting with the invocation. The Reverend Nanette Hilliard, pastor of Great Awakening United Church of Christ. If everyone would stand for the invocation. And after the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Reverend, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for this opportunity. Let us pray. Loving God, we thank you for our great city, for our diversity, our challenges, and our will to come together as one. Dear Lord, as this council gathers to attend the business of our city, we ask that you give them wisdom, compassion, and courage. We ask, Lord, that you grant this council and our city your favor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend, thank you again for coming. We appreciate it. That's my kind of prayer. You have the roll call.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wood is absent for his son's award.
That's exactly right. We want to extend congratulations to Mr. Wood's son being recognized for 40 under 40. Do I have a motion for the certification of the closed session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I'll call for the question, please.
By a vote of 10 to 1 with Mr. Wood absent, you have certified the closed session to be in accordance with the motion to recess. 10 to 0.
Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes of October 3rd, 2017?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I'll call for the question, please. We're going
By
to
a vote
do,
of 10 to 0, you have approved the minutes.
it's now my pleasure to read some proclamations. And if I could ask Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond with Black Women for Positive Change and Rajiv Islam, Chair of the Human Rights Commission, to come forward, please. Ian, it's my pleasure to read this. We welcome everyone. We welcome everyone. Great. Whereas America's problems with violence within our society have escalated, not abated during the last decade, affecting families in every walk of life and threatening our national security and the safety of our children, youth, adults, seniors, and families. And whereas we recognize the need to quell divisive and hurtful rhetoric that can lead to violence in our communities by increasing understanding through education, conflict resolution, and nonviolence training and resources. And whereas in the spirit of honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his call for nonviolence in America, made at the March on Washington on August 28, 1963, we share that commitment to understanding peace and justice as we celebrate the diversity of our country as a source of strength that can bring us together rather than divide. Whereas Black Women for Positive Change, a national civic volunteer organization in collaboration with the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia Beach City Public Schools, the Virginia Beach Human Rights Commission, the African American Cultural Center, faith-based leaders, national organizations, elected officials, and community leaders are calling for a national summit on nonviolence and a week of nonviolence. Now, therefore, I, William D. Sessoms, Jr., Mayor of the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia, do hereby proclaim October 15, 2017 through October 23, 2017, the Week of Nonviolence in Virginia Beach, and I ask this week serve as a reminder to all of our shared purpose and encourage all citizens to promote nonviolence with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. And may I present this to you, Amelia?
The students have been working on this 23 seconds recitation of statement to peace.
We'd love to hear it. Thank you. And welcome.
We commit to listen in order to understand,
Share with others in a peaceful and respectful manner.
seek the path to peace in order to rediscover solidarity.
Be examples of encouraged change in humanitarian and compassionate ways.
We commit to do this for the sake of humanity, so we can all live together in peace and harmony.
Very good. That was excellent. I think you make all of us feel good about our future in this city with wonderful young people like you. We really mean that. And to the teacher, thank you very much. The instructor, we appreciate it very much. And to all the supporting adults here, we appreciate everything you all are doing to help these wonderful young people.
We have human rights, we have school board.
Oh, God. We got wonderful people. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it. Take care. I have another proclamation, ladies and gentlemen, the Extra Mile Day. And Father Park.
Yes,
We welcome you, sir.
thank you.
Whereas the City of Virginia Beach is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. Whereas Virginia Beach is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. Whereas Virginia Beach is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Virginia Beach acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 575 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2017. Now, therefore, I, William D. Sussmans, Jr., Mayor of the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2017 Extra Mile Day in Virginia Beach, and I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day not only to go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. Father Park, may I present this to you, sir?
Thank you. And as I accept this, we are a city that has the richness of so many volunteers. And we're indebted to their efforts, their richness that they bring, but also too, the uniqueness of this city with the volunteer resource managers that support them and offer the recognition. So again, thank you. We'll make November 1st a special day.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it very much. Appreciate it. I open a public hearing on Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program.
I have no speakers.
I'll now go to the formal session, council for the consent. Please note that we will be pulling some because we have speakers that you might not be aware of, please. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for approval under the consent agenda, first under ordinances and resolutions. Item J1, which is a resolution to support an application for the VDOT Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program for a pedestrian and bicycle path enhancements. 2, resolution to adopt the Community of One plan for a homelessness in Virginia Beach. 4, ordinance to authorize an amendment to the lease between the city and Back Bay Waterfowl Guild, Inc. at 1113 Atlantic Avenue, DeWitt Cottage. 5, ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property at 5544 Normandy Avenue, Ray Elizabeth River, public access. 6, ordinance to authorize temporary encroachments into a portion of city property known as Lake Joyce Ray bulkhead, fencing, patio, planters, and a deck at 4229 Battery Board, District 4, Bayside. 7, ordinances to accept, appropriate, or transfer a $19,959 cash in lieu of park reservation payment from the Vineyard subdivision and appropriate to park playground renovation 3. Madam Clerk, please note the mayor is abstaining on that item.
Yes, Your Honor.
Item 7B is the $50,000 grant from the City to Virginia Beach Volunteer Rescue Squad, Inc., for a purchase of a new ambulance. C, $125,000 grant from the Virginia Tourism Authority to Economic Development, Ray Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. D, $1,598 from the Fire Department Gift Fund for a purchase of grills for Fire Station 8 and 19. And E, $55,800 from the Police Federal and State Seized Assets Special Revenue Fund, for a crime scene technology and canine replacement.
Open a public hearing for planning.
Under planning for consent, first item K1, which is Wave Church for modification of conditions, redevelopment of a turf field and picnic shelter at 1000 North Great Neck Road in the Lynn Haven District. Item 2 is the application to Evergreen Virginia LLC at 3003, 3025, 301, and 2981 Virginia Beach Boulevard and the Beach District, modification of conditions and a conditional use permit. And Madam Mayor, please note the mayor is abstaining on that item.
Your Honor, I have that.
Item 3 is the application of Metamorphosis Salon and Spa and ET Enterprises LLC for a conditional use permit in the Bayside District. Item 5 is the application of Holland South Investments LLC for a conditional change of zoning from B1A to conditional B2 at 3420 Holland Road in the Rose Hall District. And Madam Mayor, please note the mayor is abstaining on that item.
Yes, Your Honor.
Item 6, the application of Ondang and Holland South Investments LLC for a conditional use permit in the Rose Hall District. Madam Mayor, please note the mayor is abstaining on that item.
Yes.
Item 7, the application of Atlantic Wildfowl Heritage Museum and the city for conditional use permit, array and open air market in the Beach District. Item 8, the application of Eye Candy Lash Boutique and Holland Plaza Shopping Center LLC for a conditional use permit in the Rose Hall District. Item 9, the application of Sheehan J. and Jeremy Ryan Sistalis for a conditional use permit for a family daycare home in the Bayside District. Madam Clerk, please note the mayor is abstaining on that item.
Yes, Your Honor.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
I have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion in several seconds. Any discussion? I'll call for the question, please.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you have approved the items. Mr. Ern, may I have your verbal?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You have approved the items as read by the Vice Mayor and noted the abstention.
I want to remind everyone that the City Council speaker policy that allows certain representatives of groups to speak for 10 minutes applies only to planning items, and items where a public hearing is requested by state law. As to all other items on the agenda, each speaker, whether speaking individually or on behalf of a group, will have 3 minutes to speak. I will now go to item number 3 under ordinances and resolutions. Resolution to endorse the Regional Broadband Initiative in partnership with other localities and to apply for a Go Virginia grant. Please call the speaker.
Kim Bentley?
We welcome you tonight.
Good evening, councilpersons, mayor. While I'm not directly against the application of the grant, I strongly urge the councilpersons and the residents of Virginia Beach to use extreme caution and reservation before giving any further public financial consideration of regional internet service providers. Regional ISPs have been given tax breaks and direct funding from the state and local governments of Virginia to the tune of billions of dollars over the last decade or more, about 15 years. Yet have failed on delivering agreed-upon expansion and maintenance projects for Virginia Beach residents. Prime example is just in Virginia Beach, Verizon's incomplete rollout of fiber to the home, which were promised time after time with each approval of a tax break or a financial consideration. Also, Cox Cable's continued failure of maintenance of their own network. Multiple examples have been given for each of the ISPs through FCC complaints. And before any further involvement with these regional ISPs, I would make sure that you go into this with your eyes open, that you understand that previous contractual obligations have not been met, previous contractual of not only rollout but maintenance, and they continue to this day. Please just keep this in mind when giving any further consideration. As far as the grant goes, that, please apply for the grant. But if you are going to get into a contractual obligation with Verizon or with Cox or with any of the other regional ISPs, please keep in mind their past failures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All the speakers.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that the speaker and the public viewing knows this is and Ben's really took the lead on this, so I won't take her, but this is to network the municipal networks that are in place. So it's a government to government. This isn't, we're not partnering with Verizon, we're not partnering with Cox. This is just interconnecting on a regional basis the municipal fiber infrastructure of communities, just so people know what it is. This is government to government.
Mr. Davenport, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 3, and I hope everybody will support it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll call for the question, please.
By a vote of 10-0, you have approved the application for the Go
I'll
Virginia.
now open up public hearing again for planning, and I'm going to go to item number 4, Allen Zink, for a conditional use permit regarding home occupation, firearms sales at 2252 Creeks Edge Drive. Could call the speakers, please? Call the applicant first, please.
In favor or the opposed?
Excuse me?
You want
The applicant first,
Okay,
please.
applicant. Alan Zink, representing his own application.
We welcome you, sir.
I appreciate the opportunity to come here and see you wonderful people. Been doing the process as required, which I really wasn't aware of all the steps, but I've been enjoying the experience. And but probably the best thing I could say, or the only thing I could say, is that I will follow, of course, all the guidelines of the ATF. I've already mentioned that to you. I've been doing it for 12 years. I've been a federal firearms license dealer for 12 years, working out of my house in Chesterfield, in a community, association community. Went very well, no problems whatsoever. And we moved down here, so I'm hoping to just continue it, but to continue it. But as I had said, I am not going to be selling retail at all. That is something that has been going around, but strictly going to be transfers, people who purchase from out of state that need to come into our state and go through a Virginia requirements background check, as well as the federal ATF background check. And that's what I'm going to be performing, the background checks for the people, to make it safer for the people who purchase the guns, to make sure they are legal, upstanding citizens. And that's, I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Any questions or comments from council members? Thank you very much. Oh, excuse me, Barbara.
In reading the transcript from the Planning Commission, they were concerned about the garage and the access of others to that facility through the garage. Could you explain how you intend to operate and the security that you're going to have?
I realize that was mentioned at the earlier meeting, and the garage, of course, was open because I don't have cars. I don't know if anybody puts cars in garages these days, but I was moving my office and equipment, computer and stuff into the garage in anticipation of getting approved. And once I get approved, then I have locks on the garage doors. They're going to be sealed. The only entrance will be through the front door. out 100%. Got plenty of room in the garage. I've got things set up. I do have safes, firearm safes, 3 of them, and they remain locked at all times. When a item comes in that person purchased, that item comes to me, goes directly into the safe after I put it in the ATF book. It has to show where it came from, what it is, where it came from, et cetera, date, et cetera. Goes in the book, goes in a safe place. Garage will be locked at all times, unless we're moving something in or out of it, of course. But and then when the person is ready to come pick it up, I make an appointment. They come in and they give me their IDs, show me their paperwork, or I fill out the paperwork, and they are not even allowed to touch or possess that firearm until they are approved by the background check. It's not really, that's actually not a requirement by the federal government, but it is my requirement. I don't even allow them to see it or touch it, because I don't know what that person's like until he does a background check. But in all honesty, anybody that is going to be purchasing a gun out of state, have it come in and knows he's going to be filling out a federal form which lists those questions, which you guys probably know, but have you ever been a felon? Have you ever this, that, the other thing? And anything that he does there, if he checks off anything that is inaccurate or a lie, it's a federal offense. And that's, I just want to give you another rundown. But yeah, the garage will remain closed. I've got locks on it. We do have, for what it's worth, to add to it, I do have 4 cameras, 1 in the garage, inside. I got 1 outside the garage, front door, and covering the entire back, along with a very high-tech alarm system inside the house for anybody that tried to enter from any ways. And if there's any requirements that you guys come up with, just something you think, hey, shouldn't we do this? Just let me know. I'll do it. Simple as that. Phone call, taken care of.
Thank you very much.
I sincerely appreciate it. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Harry Baylor.
We welcome you tonight, sir.
Say again, sir?
We welcome you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Harry Bila. I'm a resident of Long Creek Cove, where Mr. Zink lives. I've been there since 1999. He's been there since about 2000. I've been the president of the board of directors for 15 years. I just resigned about 2 months ago. And I know pretty much about everything that's going on there. Mr. Zink has been an outstanding resident. I don't think there's one person that can really say anything negative about him. He's been a positive asset to the neighborhood. Because of anything that he has done or helped, nobody has been hurt. Nobody has been in danger. He's been, like I say, just outstanding. He's trying to run a business in his home, and I see the sign that was up. It said gun sales. I've known him for a long time, and he's not doing gun sales. He's processing paperwork. A gun comes to him that has been purchased or whatever. He gets the paperwork done. He puts it back out to the person after they've been approved. He's following city license requirements. He's following state license. He's following Virginia license and federal license. He's got himself I forgot the term, but the license is a ATF or whatever it may be. So he's following the guidelines of everybody that's put something in front of him. I've been in his garage. He's got safes in there that I could use as a big refrigerator. I mean, they're huge. You ain't lifting them up. You ain't doing nothing to them, and they're sealed. The condo association, I know about every rule that's there. He's not violating any rule of the condo association. You're going to probably hear some negative stuff about him and danger of the kids and everything else. Believe me, there's a lot of other things in the neighborhood, in other neighborhoods, that are more dangerous than him having his business in his garage. As far as businesses in the neighborhood, there's one person that runs a surfboard or paddleboard business. Another one's running a business where they build totem poles. You got people operating, I operate my business at home on a computer at night. I have a business license with Virginia Beach for over 20 years. And when I'm sitting at home at night, I operate my business while I'm watching television on a computer. The difference between any business that's been operating in any home and his, he has the word gun attached to it. You take that word away, and there wouldn't be one negative thing said about what he's doing. I put 21 years in the Navy. Don't want to say it, but I blew stuff up for 21 years, so guns don't bother me. You respect them, they respect you, and I don't see personally any reason why that man shouldn't have the business that he's doing, especially with the safety record that he's had for over, well, since 2000 in that neighborhood. Nobody can say anything negative other than he's got a gun in his house. So, unless anyone's got any questions.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Joan Ryan.
We welcome you tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's nice to see some of you, all of you. I am rising in my name is Joan Ryan. I live in Long Creek Cove condominium, and I have for 11 years. I do support the Second Amendment rights, but I also live less than 50 yards from Mr. Zink. We are a small neighborhood of 87 single-family condominiums, and I come before you tonight to speak in opposition of Mr. Zink's application. I have given you each a notarized petition that I circulated, and with 37 of the residents opposed to this application, and the petition also includes the signatures of every single current Board of Directors members. My first concern, of course, is for the safety of myself, my grandchildren, my neighbors, including the many children that reside here. I also worry about the effect this might have on my property values. I have several other concerns, one being that the person who is purchasing the gun will be the one possessing it, and this will not be a straw purchase. On August 13th, 2017, 60 Minutes aired a story about the Remington Arms Company. Their 700X Mark Pro rifle has defective triggers. When the safety is unlocked, the gun fires without the trigger being pulled. 4 out of every 10 went off in this manner. The government can't recall guns. They can only recall toy guns. Only 1 in 4 Remington guns have been fired, and there are still millions out there. We do not want this type of activity involving guns in our neighborhood. In conclusion, I want to thank you all for your time, and again state that I am vehemently opposed to this intrusion on my quality of life and that of my neighbors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming down. Next speaker, please.
Laura Maxim.
We welcome you tonight.
Thank you. My name is Laura Maxon, and I live in Long Creek Cove condominiums. I'm opposed to the guns. I just feel like even though Mr. Zink has taken all the precautions, we don't know who's coming to pick them up. And so you just don't know what you're going to have in and out of your neighborhood. And that's basically, besides agreeing with Joan Ryan, that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down. Next speaker, please.
Kevin McGee.
We welcome you tonight, sir.
Thank you very much. Kevin McGee, also live in Long Creek Cove, current board member, also with Joan. Once again, believe in the Second Amendment. Concern, there's a 500 feet away, there's a bus stop where kids are in and out of there, kindergartners. There'll be people coming by with guns that they've purchased. Yes, they're gonna be checked out, but when they walk away from that house, who knows where they go? Are they good people, are they not? Did they pass by closely, or how well were they checked out? The ability to check them out. So once again, opposed to the passing of it for our neighborhood, and as a member of the board and agreeing with Joan and the signatures that are there.
Thank you very much.
That's
Next.
all the speakers, Your Honor.
Very good. Council, as you know, Mr. Wood is not here today. It's in his area. And I did say in the informal session that I was going to ask the city attorney to give us a brief on this situation. And Mark, if you'd be so kind, please.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. While the city council has plenary zoning authority under the city or the state code, the state has seen fit to impose certain limitations on local governments as it relates to your control over firearms, ammunition, and the combination of those things. Specifically, Virginia Code Section 15.2 915 provides that no locality shall adopt or enforce any ordinance, resolution, or motion governing the purchase, possession, transfer, ownership, carrying, storage, or transporting of firearms, ammunition, or components or combinations thereof, other than expressly authorized by statute. And it goes on to provide that a statute that does not refer to firearms, ammunition, or components shall not be construed to provide the express authorization required. What that means for purposes of consideration of this application is that you can still exercise your zoning authority as it relates to general zoning principles, traffic, parking, that kind of thing, but you cannot identify specifically or make your decision in consideration of the fact that the item being offered for sale or stored or possessed or transferred is a firearm. So if you would allow this gentleman, based on sound zoning principles, to manufacture and sell totem poles or paddle boards, you cannot treat the applicant differently because the object that he is offering or that his business involves is a firearm or ammunition.
Does anyone have any questions for the city attorney? Mr. Moss, you said you would make a motion?
I would, in the absence of Mr. Wood being here. I do move for its approval. But I'd like to make a few comments if I could first, Mr. Mayor. I know this is where the jobs get tough because you hear people's concerns, but all of us as a society, and our obligation of our oath of office is to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth. And that's not something I get the discretion to decide what that law is, no different than the police officers in this room. And so I think that we need to make sure that the minorities' rights as they are in a majority neighborhood, but you can hear what the law is. And so really it's our obligation to respect that law, and we're obligated by our oath to apply it independent of our personal views. And that's the basis by which I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I would second, and I would just echo Mr. Moss's comments. This has been a difficult, one of the difficult applications that we've had, but according to state code, this is the only decision that we can make.
Mrs. Henley?
I will just say, I don't think this is a constitutional thing. I don't think the founding fathers were telling the city council what we could and could not do. It's the General Assembly that did that because we're a Dillon Rule state. So I object to this General Assembly action, and I certainly don't think it's a constitutional issue.
My only reference to that was the Constitution of the Commonwealth does empower the General Assembly to pass the laws that they do, and they are able to bind us to them. And that's the context in which I meant it.
That's a different constitution, though, than
But that's how I meant it.
with the Second Amendment.
No, I wasn't referring to that.
We're referring to the Virginia General Assembly.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'll call for the question.
I hate this.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you have approved the application of Mr. Zink.
Okay, we'll now go to item number 10, SXCW Properties 2 LLC in Fulton Bank, NA, for a conditional use permit regarding a car wash and a service station at 3264 Highland Road. Mr. Burdon has come forward. As you know, as we said earlier, Mr. Burdon wants to make a statement, and then I believe Mrs. Kane is going to make a motion to defer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Mr. City Manager. I come before you on behalf of my clients because they wanted to put some things on the record. I'm not going to make a presentation, so you can rest assured that you'll hear nothing about the application.
We've agreed, no presentation.
My client has spent tremendous amount of time and effort. I reached out to the neighboring community back in June, had a meeting at TCC with 5 members of the community, made a great deal of concessions and things that, they offered, which we'll get into, hopefully later, not tonight, I understand. But like limiting hours of operation, creating a 18,000 square foot pocket park, a lot of other things. But when this came up after Planning Commission, 2 people appeared with some opposition. When it got to council, Councilwoman Kane asked my client the day of the hearing to defer. They had already traveled up here. We said gladly, wanted to set up another meeting with a larger number of people in the community. We went door to door in close proximity to the property, had a meeting on October the 5th, well attended, about 20 residents of the community were there. At that meeting, I indicated that this matter was on the agenda for tonight, the 17th. And I understand from talking to Councilwoman Kane this morning that an attorney, Kevin Martingale, had sent a letter to the council, which was the reason why this matter was deferred, was to try to get greater participation. But I want you to know that neither Lynn Henry, who was, I think, the communicating party in the neighborhood with Mr. Martingale, nor Mr. Martingale at any point in time has ever communicated with me to advise of his coming into this case, having any involvement in this case. And Kevin called me last week on another matter. We spoke for 20 minutes, never mentioned this case. Had there been anyone communicating with me on their side, telling me that, he was involved in the case and that he wanted to know if there was a hearing, I would have told him at that point in time. But everyone was told, it was advertised. My client's contract has a hard closing of no later than November the 7th. And that's the date that this body will now take up this matter if it's deferred. And my clients have spent a tremendous amount of time, effort, and done, I think you'll hear from your staff, an excellent job of being extremely sensitive to the community. They're working on seeing what they can do, but I've told them what's going to happen tonight. So, but I wanted you to know that if anyone in the community, and I asked this question at the meeting on October 5th, did anyone in the community have any communication with an attorney that y'all are paying to represent this community in opposition to this? And everyone's shaking their heads. So, and they knew about the date. But, I understand that Ms. Kane made a representation to Mr. Martingale, and, I'm certainly not going to, she certainly
We appreciate you.
lives with her word, and I understand that.
Ms. Hall does have a question.
I do, with this drawing that we have. I think you'll have added this 45-foot no-build zone, but I noticed that says that that's a out parcel of a 1.86 acres. So are you subdividing this into another parcel, and is that?
It would be a lease parcel, and that was all, and that's been on there from the no-build zone was added, but the lease part, the having 2 parcels, it's 4 acres, that's been there from the beginning.
But that would expect to be another use there at some point?
That's why we have a list of 13 things that's not allowed there. But the most likely some type of an office use, because it's no low visibility, but that's right. But that's why we have a list of 13 things that are not allowed on the site. And frankly, the brick wall, they were willing to put that, extend that, but then you create, because the townhouses have their own fence, so we wind up with a 45-foot wide area that you can't have any eyes on. You follow me?
Well, I'll have.
We'll have plenty of time.
We'll talk,
I'm
talk
sorry.
later.
We'll talk. Thank you.
Shannon.
I'm in the hot seat here. Let me make a few comments. Thank you, Mr. Badon. We did meet October 5th with the community association and those neighbors who desired to attend the meeting over at the Rush Soccer Complex. At that meeting, Eddie gave his presentation, or Mr. Badon gave his presentation of the project, and took citizens' concerns and comments as we were there. As a result, I'm just going to take some time to go over this for a second, if you don't mind. As a result of that meeting, we changed a few things, added a few more conditions on the property or the parcel, Barbara, that you were just speaking of. So in the future, there could be no bars or nightclubs, body piercing establishments, bora pits, bulk storage yard, craft breweries, craft distilleries, heliports and helistops, mobile home sales, motor vehicle sales and rental, tattoo parlors, wine tasting room. We revised the site layout plan. We removed a dumpster. The applicant moved the dumpster back to another more desirable location. And one of the main things that the community brought up that night was an ingress and egress off of Holland Road. And we did change that. We were able to get that changed so that there is less traffic on the road going back to the neighborhood that they could use in and out on Holland Road. With all that being said, I feel that these changes that we've made are quite positive for the development. And as the applicant's attorney has pointed out, the by right use for this particular property will bring a lot more traffic than this particular development could possibly bring. The community has concerns over the traffic that it may bring, as well as they simply don't want another car wash or gas station in their community. And those boil down to the two premises that I heard. The reason I'm asking for a deferral tonight is because I did give my word to their attorney, Kevin Martingale, that I would let him know when this was back on the agenda. I assumed, and we all know where that happens when you assume, I assumed by public notice in the paper and the fact that we had the meeting on October 5th, and Mr. Badon did say there would be on the agenda tonight, that everyone was aware, but I didn't make that extra step to let Mr. Martingale know that we were hearing this tonight. So in order to keep my word, I will defer this to our next council meeting, which unfortunately is the day that your applicant's loan needs to close on November 7th, but I ask for the deferral to November 7th.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Call for the question.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you have approved the deferral to November the 7th.
Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor, let's go to appointments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to nominate to the Arts and Humanities Commission, Mary Nell Gordon, to the Board of Building Code Appeals, Thomas Atherton, Ruth Bell, Jimmy A. Cook, and Morton Savell, to the Housing Advisory Board, Kevin P. Kemp, to the Parks and Recreation Commission, at-large Sharon Felton, and Bayside District, Michael Fentress.
Do I hear any other nominations? Hearing none? Yes, sir?
Can I also ask that the council consider the reappointment of Mr. Shuley to the Board of Building Code Appeals? You appointed him last month, but we got the talent bank application this week.
Sure. We'll have Mr. Shuley on, to include Mr. Shuley. Any other nominations? Call for the question, please.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you have appointed those, or reappointed those whose names have been named by the Vice Mayor.
Is there any old business? Any new business? We'll adjourn.